Hi everyone, and thank you for joining this 30 minutes Cubicost webinar. Whether you're an experienced Cubicost user or you're just getting started with the tool, we believe this webinar will help you to get the most out of the software. Today, my colleague Asen will demonstrate to you some features that you might be aware of or you might never used before, and you can implement in your existing process. This is the agenda for today. It's very brief because it's just 30 minutes webinar. As I said, we'll demonstrate some features, drag and auto identify. This is how we're going to start the demonstration. So most of you are using these features on a daily basis. However, we'll give some insights on what the differences are and when it's appropriate to switch from one another. Dealing with design changes, we will briefly showcase how changing one dimension or one item in your drawing will automatically affect the calculations you have already done. 3D deduction, here we will share one hint that can help you to better understand how the deductions have been made. You'll see the formulas behind, and as I said, this is very powerful if you want the calculations to make more sense to you. And we'll demonstrate a couple of BIM features. As you know, with Cubicost tasks, we unlock the ability to use almost any type of formats as DWG, PDFs, IFC, and Revit files. So if you consider to move from 2D to BIM, or you have available IFC or Revit file, we would recommend you to watch this and see what you can achieve having these files. And we will summarize the webinar with some reports. We will demonstrate to you how you can adjust the reports and generate meaningful data just by adding and adding the classifications in your reports. So let's just get started.
If you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them in the question form and we'll come back to you as soon as possible. Over to you, Asen.
Thank you, Pavlina. So I'm here to tell you or just help you master your Cubicost skills so you can make your takeoff more efficient and add more value to your workflow. So without much further ado, let's begin. This here, as you can see, is a foundation drawing. It's black and white. We have some piles, contig wall, and so on. Now, I've imported this into TAS. Let's see what it looks like. Here, as you can see, it's the same drawing with not so similar output. You can first of all see that the drawing's been digitized, recolored. Now, those that are familiar with the software and have done a few takeoffs, just as a reminder, this will allow you to snap onto certain locations. So we automate right from the beginning. From the moment you import the drawing, the automation begins. The reason we do this is so you can snap onto certain points, and if you're used to or more comfortable with conventional markup, you can do that. However, my focus today is on our identification options. So for those of you who are familiar, you may be used to using auto-identify, where you can select a certain element in the building. So for instance, if I was to take off these piles automatically, I could very easily tell the platform this here is a pile. Now we've processed this information and we're ready to automatically identify this. So that's 215 piles in a few seconds. Done. Job done. However, not all jobs are this good, and sometimes not always, you are not always able to get the right amount of information or the correct information coming through when you select a layer. So in those scenarios, what do we do? Well, I'll show you exactly what we can do. So here, for instance, we have the contig wall. Now, if I was to try and do the same process, so let's identify this wall. And this time, if we were to identify it, you can see we've picked up other elements as well. So it's not a perfect example. And it's not the perfect scenario. So in real life, you will come across such instances where it's not a perfect drawing. What do? That's where drag identifier comes in. This will help you do your takeoff in a much more controlled fashion. So I can, for instance, drag a box. So when I drag from left to right, whatever's inside this square will be selected. So here is this pile which has been selected, that's incorrect. However, if I was to do the same thing from right to left, can you see the contig wall has now been highlighted in blue? And if I was to select this, my wall has also been identified. So simply by using drag identification, I can have a more controlled approach.
Yes, so as you can see, both of these features are very powerful for auto identification, and each of them has its own use case scenario. So you can switch between them when you have good quality of drawings, or depending on your project that you're currently working on. To move forward, Asen, can you demonstrate to us how we deal with changes, and for instance, if we received an information that the door schedules has changed, how will this change interact with other elements and the measurements we have already done?
Yeah, of course. So that's a great question. And to demonstrate this, I'll just do a little bit more takeoff. So I'll just, first of all, I'll just continue my takeoff for the walls. So just place some cores in. So as I did before, I'll just tell the platform we have got this line here are the core walls. And I will now drag identify just because there is noise which has been picked up as it did before. So here I'll just drag a box from right to left and just continue the takeoff process. Before I continue with this, can you see that we have got this noise available again? And sometimes it's just easier for you to get rid of that distraction so that you can focus on what matters. And to do this, you can simply restore pick CAD entity. Now this is great if you want to reuse certain layers or anything else like that, but here I'll just hide the ones. So now we have the walls available. And now because of this, it's more easy for me to drag my boxes and continue the takeoff. Right, so let's just go back to the door openings. If you imagine you have a wall, such as this one, and it had a certain type of opening in. So Pavlina, I've got a task for you. I will be placing in a door opening, and I'll need your help to just remember what the value is.
Yes, sure.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. So here, let's just go ahead and quantify this. First of all, yep, we've done this. Now that we've quantified it, let's see the type of quantity we're generating. Can you please make a note of that?
Yes, sure. We have 1.929.
Yeah, perfect. We'll just use the volume here as an example. Now, if you imagine you receive a notification to say the door openings, they're no longer 1,200, they're 950. For us, you just need to enter 950, and even if this opening was used 1,000 times in the project, it would impact them all. And at any point in time before I continue, if you wanted one to have certain type of options, or you just wanted one to be 1,200, and you just wanted a batch of them to be of a certain dimension and the others not to, it's very easy. You just need to change the name of it. So yeah, let me just rerun the calculations and let's see what the difference is.
Yes, so as you can see, once we change the door width, the volume of the wall was automatically adjusted. So we had 1.929 before, and now we have 2.034.
Yes, exactly. And another bonus tip. So if at any point in time you want to see how something's being calculated, whether or not it's interacting with other objects, other building elements that have been drawn, you can always click View Expression, and then anything you wish to just cross-check or double-check. So here, I've selected the wall. You can see the volume. You can see that the door is being deducted, and you can go a step further to see the 3D deductions as well. As I said before, if you wish to see how objects are interacting with one another, you can view expression. And 3D deduction is great because you can see the original quantity. Then if there's any deductions being made, so here it's just the door, you can see it being calculated, and you can just continue to see how, again, the area is being calculated, the fact that the door is being deducted. For instance, if a slab was now placed over here in this project, we can again draw it as a rectangle, or for a more controlled takeoff, where it physically represents the slab itself. What we can do is we can just trace round the drawing, and as you can see here, I'm just going across the project, just drawing this in. So this is where the snap feature comes into play, where depending on the type of project you are working on, you can still get a pretty decent takeoff. So if I was to just continue this, now we've placed the slab in, and if you were to take a look at the type of things we've taken off, so you can see it in 3D view. Again, for the deduction side of things, we can wherever there are openings, we can place them in. So as we did with any other element, we can just go to the slab opening side of things and place them in. If I was to just place one here as an example, and I'll just place a few small ones just to get the point across. Now, if I was to again just rerun the calculations for this, you'll be able to see how we are calculating and how the measurement rules are working. So we can view expression to see what's the fact that an opening is being deducted. But which openings are being deducted, you might ask. So here you can see only the large one, as per SMM7, because that's why I selected, is being deducted, and the others which are placed in, they just being ignored. Yes, so we have advanced measurement rules.
Yeah, so as you know, we have built-in measurement rules for deduction, and this feature here can help you to better understand how the deductions have been made and what was calculated in certain items. As you know, you can always change these rules if you need to, and for this instance here, if you decide that you want to get more detail and to calculate the small um, openings, you can change the rules and have this in your report. Moving forward, as I mentioned in the beginning, we always urge our clients to use BIM files whenever possible, or IFC files. So to move to the BIM features that we'll demonstrate today, to do so, Asim, can you import a BIM file?
We work with BIM models as within this platform. So we can work with IFC, we can work with Revit, and of course, if you have a Revit change, we can deal with that as well. So I'll be bringing in an IFC. So we take you through the setup wizard. Just a quick note here. If you're ever working with a BIM file, this section is it can be changed later on. So for instance, your elevations do change and there is some sort of discrepancy. We allow you to go into the project settings to set this up. So I'll just go ahead and continue with the default. And again, as a refresher, if there are any, we take you through the process of converting your IFC into a TAS file type. We do this so we can add the advanced and extra measures we do to all our items. So here you can see we have beam. We ask you, we first of all show you what this item is inside the IFC, or what material it's carrying. And then we say, is this really a beam? So it's got some intelligence built in. Based on keywords, it's able to pick up this information. And if it's in situ concrete and you want formwork, you can select that. Or if you don't want it, you can change it to precast. So using this approach, we can work through each of the building elements and just make sure everything is being identified correctly. So if you were to just work through this, can you see this over here is a power cap? So we can change this to be a power cap. And at any point in time, if you wish to add remarks and you wish to double check something, so if you wanted to check this later on, we can add a remark to say check. And then later on, when we get to the quantification reporting side of things, we'll be able to filter the report by the remarks we've entered. So here everything else seems to be okay, and we'll just continue with the import. Great. Once you've imported the model, we can then take a look at it further. So one of the first things I wanted to show to you was model checking. Model checking is great because whenever you run calculation, it does this in the background. You can see if a hull overlap exists, such as this one. It will take you exactly to the ID to say, okay, and a hull overlap exists here, and it's overlapping with this item. What would you like to do? Tip 1, you could either edit this yourself, you could move it, you could delete the original quantity, or you can simply undo all of that. So you can add, move, edit, remove, trim, all those good things directly to your IFC. So that's tip number 1. Now, if you're not feeling confident and you don't wish to do that, we can allow you to auto process the errors as well. So here we have a few more errors in terms of the columns and stuff. And this allows you to remove them. So that's number one. The second thing which I wanted to showcase was how you can utilize the additional information your BIM model may create. So if you were to head over to BIM, I'm not sure if you've taken a look at this, even if you do receive BIM models, but a great tip is see what type of attributes your BIM model's carrying. Then go back to your axis grid, enable all other features, and turn cross element select on. It will make this process a lot more simpler. So if I wanted to see what quantities or what information is this element carrying, so that column, I can see a bit of information here. I've got a reference, so 900 by 300. It's just a little bit more information, but as you can see, that's already been carried through. We have got layering information, so if you wanted to use this as the name, that could be done. Let's see what other elements we have. So you could use this information whether or not it's external. So here that's false, and all this information you use, we can use it for the report building exercise, as you'll see later on. We could use the layer, and then we can use this thing called match attributes. Now for the column, I can just go inside column and say I wish to now use the summary info classification, and I want it to now be layer. So what that does is it will change the summary info, and it will replace it with a layer information which exists inside the BIM model. And that's it, you've done that. If we just rerun the calculations, I'll show you the type of results we can receive or obtain. Now that's done, we'll just continue. And if I was to just focus on the column, you can see we have it by floor, material, concrete grade, entity type, and so on. Now we have our measures. For our measures, it's 1.5 to 3 meter category, and then 3 to 4.5 and 6 to 7.5. That's per SMM7. So now I'm just heading over to set classifications, and what this allows me to do is use the information which I replaced earlier. So before I replaced summary information with a certain BIM attribute. Now I'm just prioritizing it so it can be part of the report, and this can be used in any manner to get the right output. Again, I can do the same thing for the wall as well. So we only have one type of wall which has come through. Next, what we can do is if there was any information, so I believe inside the in situ slab, we use the remark field to just check a few items. We can simply select it. No, it wasn't this one. It was the power cap. Yep. So for the power cap, I said we can have a check field, and if I wanted my breakdown for the power cap to be by this, I can do that. So now if I wanted to just double check where this is coming from, I can reverse and check the model. and it will take me to the pile caps in question.
Yes, so as you can see, Match Attributes, it's a very powerful feature to generate detailed BIM reports and to be able to use all the data from the BIM file. To summarize, we can demonstrate how we can adjust the reports simply by add or delete a classification.
Yeah, exactly. So as Pavlina mentioned, if you wanted to create more useful or more meaningful reports, then we do have a few options. So here we can disable the summary information. It's not adding too much value. We can leave the floor. And now if, for instance, I was to prioritize the name and I wanted it to be included, I can simply select this. And now can you see we have it by floor, we have it by the type of columns which exist there, and so on. So simply by either prioritizing or removing certain fields, you can get a completely different breakdown. So for instance, if you just wanted to know the different types of column which exist inside your project, you can get a breakdown. You can enable subtotal to see, okay, overall I'm getting this is my 900 by 300, this the amount of the volume you need of it, and so on. You can also save these reports as templates as well. So here what you could do is you can select different types of classifications, and you can select them. Once you've created a report type, you can give it a name. So temp1, and then you can change them simply by selecting on the type of template or report output you want.
Yeah, so as you can see, Cubicost has a lot of capabilities, and the point of this webinar was to showcase some of them that potentially you don't use. We hope that this webinar was useful and you'll be able to apply them on your day-to-day work with Cubicost tasks. If you feel that you need a further training or these features or some process that you would like to apply in Cubicost, get in touch with your account manager or send us an email at construction@magicad.co.uk, and we'll be happy to facilitate that for you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Asen, for the detailed demonstration. Speak to you soon, and we look forward to the next webinar. Bye.
Thank you.